Wednesday Addiction. Humpin' It with Mello, D83, and the Maestro.
Hello and welcome everyone. The week is almost over. You're halfway there. It's Wednesday, hump day, and you're now humping it with Mello, D83, and the Maestro. Please get your mind out of the gutter.
Were you that kid on the school bus wearing a jacket with 50,000 zippers, listening to your Walkman, couldn't wait to get home so you could turn on MTV? Well, this is the podcast for you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We have done something a little different for season 2 this time, so we hope you like it. Drop us some feedback and let us know. Co-host, how are you doing this evening? Maestro, D83.
How are you doing? I'm good.
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah.
I am good. I am dealing with the seasonal allergies, so please bear with me tonight.
Listen,
I tell you, this pollen is killing me.
the struggle is real. The struggle is real. I know. I done had a headache all day long. All day long. In and out. In and out.
Yeah.
I hate it.
And my voice is starting to get a little scratchy, so. Welcome spring.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, tonight we are going to talk about love or money. If you had a do-over, whether it's a relationship or getting married again, would you do it for love or would you do it for money? Get into it.
Love or money? So I will hold back my answer for now. No, I ain't gonna do that because I was gonna say because then people like, oh, I knew he won't no good. He ain't no good. He trifling. Nah. It ain't about that. Like, what I will say is though, I've talked to different people, right? And there's one particular person that comes to mind, and she had been married previously already. Right, she was kind of going through some things. It was her first marriage. Oh no, it was her second marriage. I'm sorry. So she told me flat out. She was like, the first time I got married for love. She said, but the second time it was for money. Not necessarily money, as in like gold digging, right? Like or sugar daddy status, something like that. But it was for a certain lifestyle, for a certain comfort level, right? We're not talking about, she going to Macy's and, buying Gucci and all this, nah. But, it was more of, I did the love thing and it didn't work out. Now I'm going to do it, listen, I can kick it with you. I love you, right? Because I think in order to say I do, at least for the most part, you don't know, it doesn't have to be, but if you make that decision and it's not solely about money, right, or something else or status or whatever, you have to enjoy that person's company a little bit, right? Let's be real. But I think I completely forgot what I was going to say, just because I'm gonna blame it on the pollen, and it was interacting with my sinus nodes.
Right.
Yeah, you feel me? Yeah.
I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm always having sinus issues all year round.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, what I was going with was, but she did. She said her second time was for, just kind of a comfortable lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like she could kick it with the person, right? Her husband. But it wasn't like, when you're searching for your equal, you're madly in love, you know what I'm saying, that whole thing. So I can see that for some people, right? Especially if they've been jaded from a previous relationship or something. Am I condoning it? Or I'm not necessarily condoning it. It's to each their own, right? It depends on who that person is, and and what they agree upon. But for me, I only plan to do it once. I'm gonna be really honest. That's why I ain't gonna tell my age because
Whatever.
my gray hairs are
Over the
telling.
hill. I'm at the mute my mic. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. But the
Try that
good,
again.
I will say the good thing. Oh, he's so disrespectful. The good thing about D83 growing his beard out is that he has just as much gray in it as I do. I love it.
I noticed that.
I love it. So all the old jokes. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. What y'all think, man?
I would say love over money. I married the first time for love. And I would say if I chose to look for someone again, it would be for love and not money.
Yeah.
I think money. I will say this though, because I've been going back and forth. If you do marry someone for money, right? And so I'm thinking. So we're not thinking looks are a thing, right? Or you're compatible with that person.
Okay.
Is that what we're talking?
Well, I mean, I guess it covers the gamut. You know what I'm saying? Because
right.
You can certainly do that. People do that.
But I would like to think though, if you were with someone just for the money, over time, you got to start having something in common, right? You're spending so much time with that person. I could see you maybe, eventually falling in love with that person. Maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say love, because I've got to be able to look at someone and enjoy what I see, and
spending time
with that person. Having good conversation and stuff, and don't have to agree with everything or have everything in common, but at least some things.
Yeah,
right.
I understand. Yeah, I agree with that.
I could see that. Kind of piggybacking off of what you were talking about, Maestro. I had worked with someone previously who had been married. She was still married, and she said if she were to get married again, it would be for money. She said, I think in her marriage she had just grown comfortable. They were comfortable with each other, but I guess there wasn't any more fire and more sparks, and it was just like, if she were to, like, I guess at her age, she had a child already. It just made more sense that if she were to do this again, she probably had no more to emotionally invest in loving someone. Maybe she was at that point, but she would just be happy with not having to worry about, paying the bills, having, again, a lifestyle where it's a lot more simple. But as for me, I'm married now. My husband and I are good. I don't see myself looking for anybody, or hopefully this is the first and last time I'm married. But, if something happened and, I was in that place where I had to look for somebody, I think for me, it would be love again. Because money, and people say it all the time, it can buy you things, but things don't necessarily, at least to me, make me happy. They tend to try to fill a void. And if you're trying to fill a void, that means something's missing. So it's probably the love part. So I personally, it would be for love. If I were to go down that road again, it's a lot, because again, having to emotionally invest in someone, building that comfortability, having to be in a relationship again, it can be a lot. It can be daunting to some people to think about having to go through all that, when, like, having somebody who knows, like, all your faults, who knows, if you didn't shower today, they don't care. It's just like little things that you take for granted, and like having to get to a place where you're comfortable with somebody else, which takes time. It could be a little much. And so it could be maybe someone thinks about as transactional, you know.
And I think that's the key word right there. That's a transactional relationship at that point, right? Because you're trading, your time. The currency is not love, right? The currency is something else, right? Whether that's whether it's money flat out and only, you know what I'm saying? Certainly, there's those marriages that are out there like that, Whether it's not necessarily for the riches, but for, like I said, for the lifestyle. So it is a transactional thing. And is it wrong if both parties agree? If both parties are cool with it, right, and everybody's upfront and honest with it, right, is it a bad thing? No, I don't think so. Because can it work? Absolutely, I think. As long as y'all have the understanding and y'all discuss it at first, Again, I guess maybe in my scenario, I'm not strictly talking about solely just for a lifestyle, but being able to say, okay, you know what, I like hanging out with you. I like, what I'm saying, we're cool. But this is also a mutually beneficial thing, right? Like, I'm looking for this, right? And I know that, you can provide this. I'm willing to say, hey, and whatever the other transaction is, I don't know what you're paying, and we ain't going there. But I'm just saying.
I believe in that way. It could definitely work. I could see it working that way.
Yeah.
If both parties come to an agreement, I could see it working like that. And it's funny because you took the words right out of my mouth when you were making that little comment about the transaction.
Yeah.
I had one of those one time on Jeff Davis, but that's long different.
Wow.
Different story.
Wow.
Just joking.
Wow.
Just joking. But I was starting to see a trend too, because Maestro, you were saying, you were giving a story about, someone that used to work.
I was just about to say that. Go ahead though.
And Mello had,
yes.
Same thing. Starting to see a trend of it being women that were,
but you know what? That was the next thing I was gonna say. That's why me and D83 cool, because we don't say. But in all honesty, like, is that something that women will decide over men, right? Is that a choice? And this is just a question. I'm not trying to state that women. What I'm saying. This is purely a question. But just that through that similarity of our two stories, right? Do you think women will be able to make that decision easier than men?
Yes.
I think so.
And why?
I mean,
why do you think that? Like, this.
I think men were mentally built in a way most men, to where you want to be the provider, right? You want to be the head of the household, so to speak. I'm not saying that there's not any women that don't feel that way, but you could just see it in like movie stars and athletes and stuff, and the people that they end up getting married to. Even the female celebrities, they tend to be money hungry, so to speak. Like the Kardashians type, or what's that one lady? I forgot her name. She was an Instagram model, and she even said that's what she was doing out here. She's trying to get these guys. She's got a former NBA, player.
Might be a lot of them.
A
lot of them. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, here's the thing I think too, and why I think it'll be easier for women to do it, because I think ultimately men they need to feel like they belong, right? Not saying women don't, but I think for men, we need a purpose. We need to feel like we're useful, right? That's our space in a relationship, and so I think I guess you could argue that a transactional relationship could be seen as that, but I think I'll tend to disagree with most men. There are always exceptions to the rule, but I think it'll be easy. I do think it'll be harder for a man to say, hey, let's just kick it. Now that I think about it, I ain't gonna say that, because Lord knows I'd have heard plenty of stories where it's just You know, so I'll hold off on that comment, but
Well, let me give you a perspective as being the only female, I think, on the show.
Wait,
Um,
Yeah, like
wait, what? D83, I seriously think that was some shade, bro. I don't know who she threw it at, but she threw some serious shade just now. I hold on now. I got a problem with that.
but from, and I don't speak for all women, but I think I can speak to a number of women that we tend to be very nurturing creatures. And we can learn to love, I think, easier than men can. So if there is something that we're provided and it can be enough, we can learn to love somebody even though it might not have been initially built on love. And even transactional, like what we were talking about, I think sometimes we can feel like we're not getting what we need emotionally. So if we can get something else, right, we kind of learn to deal with it. You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense. And that, like I said, I'm not speaking for all, but I think, a lot of women could possibly feel that, because if y'all need to be needed, and providing is something that you can do that makes you feel needed, we can accept the provisions and do what we normally do. We can cook for you, we can clean. It's not necessarily based in love like it would, like you want it to be, but it could still work.
But that's a good point. I'm gonna tell you, pull your mic a little closer, homie, because you just. I'm not even gonna say. My mind just went. I was gonna throw a shot, but I'm just not gonna do it. Like I'm gonna try and keep it 100. Okay, I'm gonna get myself together. Lord have mercy. If we were off air, it'd be a whole different story. But so think about how relationships were like back in the day, right? So it was very distinct roles, right? And the man was the provider, the woman typically, right? We're talking the old days, right? Stayed home to take care of home, kids, and do other things, right?
Domestic stuff.
Exactly. And a lot of times, it wasn't out of love that you found a man or the woman found a man. It was out of necessity, right? So they had to learn to love that man, right? So that to just to the point that you were saying, through time, sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't, but I think that is true. There's a point to where you can love to learn somebody, even though love wasn't initially there. Just like, the 83 said it earlier too. Kind of reminds me, of a Luther song. I forget the name of it, but it says, if you can't be with the one you love, then love the one you with. But speaking of another song, Death Cab for Cutie, Kath. Now, I'm going to say D83 had to put me onto this, but when I listened to it, I was like, man, it really speaks to just what we're talking about. And how, if you haven't heard it, spoiler, I'm just going to tell you what it is. But, basically, it's a song about this woman who is getting married, not for love, right? But, for other reasons, right? And, I can't remember any of the lyrics. So I know D83 got them. D83 is a master with the lyrics and the songs. So I'm going to let you go ahead and handle that.
Yeah, well, that particular song, last year I was fortunate enough to get to see this band, Death Cab for Cutie, at the Anthem in DC. Great concert. It was like they played for like 2 hours. They sounded like like the records, live. That's fantastic. and I've been trying to see them again because they were touring again, but everything was sold out. But again, awesome band. Kath, yeah, I mean, my favorite lines in the song would be, "As the flash bulbs burst, you hold your smile like someone would hold a crying child."
Yep.
You know, like this girl knows that this is not where she needs to be, but it's where she feels like she has to be.
Right.
You know, and also in the song it says, you know, people will ask whatever happened to you. You know, so it's really not, you know, about what she wants. She feels like this is what she has to do, is get married to this guy. And I never really got the feeling of that song being about she's marrying this guy for money.
Right.
Because I've seen the video as well. I just think she was just doing it because she felt like she had to get married. All of her friends were getting married, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think but I don't think it was for the love.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
You go.
Because I was trying to see if I could get that sense too. The only thing that could possibly give it away that was the reason. Now everybody was like dressed nicely, but he seemed to be a little bit more manicured and clean cut, like someone who did, you know, have money, you know, very well groomed and taken care of.
Yeah.
And it could have been like that. And he was possibly really in love with her, but her not so much for him.
Yeah. And that honestly, you know, could turn into a situation to where, like we were just talking about, you know, maybe it's going to take some, maybe she can learn to love him, but, or either it was a transactional relationship, but maybe both parties weren't privy to it. Right. And to me, that's an issue, right? That's going to be an issue, and that's not going to last. Right. If you know that you're not getting into this thing for the same reason that the other person is, then you need to say something. You need to let it be known, because you're asking for trouble in the long run. It cannot sustain that way. You know, both of y'all have to be on the same page, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's, you know, it's just a opportunity, you know, let it be known, because at the end of the day, I think the ending is going to be real nasty.
But if you think about it, this goes on every day.
Absolutely.
And that's why there are so many failed marriages and relationships.
Absolutely.
I would think that if there were more communication, that's what has to be the key for both parties to know. We just don't have that. Because if you're on the same page, there are no questions, there are no surprises, you know, but I think you have to be mature enough yourself and in a good enough place with who you are to be able to be honest with somebody in order for that to be the case. I think a lot of people are really broken and looking for other reasons or other things to kind of help fill the void or help feel whole. And they use deception to do it.
And you know, even and there's a lot of deception, but you know, I think a lot of times, often, you know, people really just aren't even aware of it, right? And you know, because they have not taken that time to fully heal or to recognize, you know, the trauma that they're still dealing with, right? That pertains to, you know, the relationship or how they see other people. You know, and to me, that's the greatest piece of advice that, you know, I could really give anybody is, you know, if you're out of a relationship or out of a marriage or whatever, like, examine yourself, take time to really heal from that, figure out, you know, what it is, why did it go wrong? You know, what part did you, because I always say, rarely is it just one person. It's usually two people, right? Not necessarily saying that, you know, it was both, you know, y'all were equally, it could have been one more so than the other, but there's always things that, you know, you could have done differently or you know, or come at a situation in a different manner, or whatever it is, you know, lack of communication, right? You know, there's always room to improve. figure it out. Take some time, man, because at the end of the day, like people, it's just you're just gonna get yourself in another cycle. It's just gonna repeat itself. You don't heal from it. You take it there, and then you end up hurting that person, and that person repeats the cycle, right? If they don't take the same time to heal. So I don't know, man. That's one of the.
Do y'all think? Do you think that if two people had gotten out of a bad relationship and they end up coming together, in other words, two broken people, do you think they could have a good relationship?
No, I think it'll be.
Not at all.
I think it'll be a situationship, for the most part, right? Well, I'm not saying it can't happen, right? I won't say that. I won't say it'll never happen, but most of the time, I would say, or a lot of the time, two broken people getting together are getting together because they're both in need of something, right? And in that time, in that moment, they feel like they can provide that for each other, right? You know, whether it's loneliness or whether they weren't getting affection in the previous relationship or whether they just didn't feel validated or whatever. So now you find this person, y'all both are seeking the same thing, and okay, now you're each giving, right? It feels great. Oh, this is going to work. But after time is always going to test you, test the relationship. Give it enough time. And after all those feelings are kind of subsided, you really start to learn who this person is, because you start to see things because you didn't vet them like you should have initially. That's when the problems occur, because now you jumped into something because it's solely off of feelings, right? You didn't invest any time to figure out who this person was. Were they compatible with you? You didn't do any of that, right? So now you're faced with a whole nother issue, right?
So
and now,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say. So there's no fixing each other. The two broken people can't fix each other, unless maybe unless you spend enough time focusing on yourself and finding yourself, maybe. And right.
Well, at that point, I would say they're not broken, right? If you invest the time in yourself, right, and you fix, you heal, right? We're not gonna say fix, but if you heal, right, from whatever traumas or whatever issues you've been through, I would say at that point, you're not really broken. But two broken people who typically they don't realize why they're broken, right, or what they're suffering from, So how can you help fix somebody else, or I'm sorry, heal somebody else if you don't know how to heal yourself, right? So it's those saying the blind leading the blind, right? It's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? Because you can both go and if you take steps to go go to therapy, communicate, make sure you have an open communication in your relationship. I'm sure you can work some things out and fix it, and and heal together, right, while growing together. I won't say it's impossible. But how many people actually do that, right? Because that takes a lot of work. Because not only are you trying to deal with yourself and your own trauma, but now you're trying to help your partner through their trauma and vice versa. So you're asking for a whole lot at that point, just in my opinion. But, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm nobody.
I think, like you were saying, usually if you're jumping to someone else, like rebounding, is usually to fill, again, a void.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the things, it's the person. And, you're looking for somebody to fix what you're not willing to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that or even say fixing, you're looking for someone to make you feel better about what you won't fix. Right. And at the end of the day, it's going to remain unfixed until you put that time and work in.
Mm-hmm.
To actually reconcile it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be dysfunction. Let's just put it
Yeah.
Until that happens. I was just thinking about a movie where it's kind of a little bit the opposite. Like I believe these two people had the communication and realized that they just weren't right for each other. If you've seen Tyler Perry's Good Deeds.
Yeah.
I was, at first, I was like, they couldn't have really loved each other for them to just be able to separate like that. But then as I watched it again. I could see like they were mature enough people. Like they were secure enough in themselves to be able to make these decisions like we're talking about and say, hey, as much as I love you,
we ain't on the same page.
We're just not right. And I thought that was an extremely good movie. I don't know how often that happens in real life, but
I'm sure it does.
Because I'm not saying it doesn't, but I think we see more of the opposite of all the dysfunction happening than actually mature decisions being made about a relationship.
That was a good movie. I liked it.
And he happened to realize it while he was not getting to know, but being exposed to someone else.
No, he was getting no. Tyler Perry. Well, at least his character. Right. It's one of those scenarios where it's a mix of Hollywood too, right? Let's be real. The whole kind of the way, but I did appreciate the fact that he came to realize what after being exposed to this one person and understanding that I'm kind of been this zombie throughout my life and even in my relationship and they tried to highlight that when Gabrielle Union, I forget her character's name, but when she would, before he would say something when they were getting ready in the morning, right, she would say it first, like, he was just he was just so robotic, right? But I really did appreciate the fact that how that thing kind of transpired and how they just both because she was out partying because he was so square, right? And and she realized that this is what she wanted, a little bit more liveliness, she wanted something more, but when they finally kind of figured things out, things came out in an odd way, but but you're right, they had a discussion and they both said, I love you so much. Yes, I love you too. What if we're making a mistake? But what if we're not? What if this isn't what it's supposed to be? Or what if this isn't where we're supposed to be? So and the whole fact when they called off the wedding, and they gave each other a kiss and they were good. Like that's obviously that's Hollywood, right? Because most scenarios ain't going down like that, But but to the fact of this, I mean, he had what many would consider the perfect bride, right? And vice versa on the flip side, she had the guy had money. He was, he had his own business, with this empire, all this. And and most people would kill for that, to have a partner like that. But, the key is realizing that, that's not going to sustain us, right? We're missing a component, right? And really that's compatibility. Love was there. Go ahead, D3.
And you could see that when he was starting to talk with Lindsay. The first time when he saw her sitting out in the vehicle and he took her and her daughter out for pizza, you could already see that they had this, chemistry. It was there already from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
They clicked.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and one of my favorite parts in that movie too was when he opened up the daycare.
Yes.
Remember he opened up that daycare. I ain't gonna lie. It was raining inside the house. That's what was happening.
Hey, listen.
I got this leak. I got this leak in here.
The pipe burst. Listen, man. It happened to me one time. I was watching The Shack, and I don't know what happened. The pipe must have been rusted or something, but it just busted open, came all down on my face and my shirt. I was like, man, I almost drowned a little bit, but I made it out. That happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, y'all are so too much.
No, listen.
Cry?
I will be the first one to tell you, ain't nothing wrong with a man crying. And in fact, I would encourage it because we were all born with emotions. Now, we don't want to let them lead us all the time, right? But we're not supposed to suppress them either, right? And I think that's another story for another day. But one of the most detrimental things for a man is to think that he he should not or cannot cry. My personal opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should talk about that on another podcast.
We might have to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We might have to.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking too about that movie, I know it's a little off subject, but the song, I liked all the songs on there, but also had one of my favorite Richard Marx songs, Right Here Waiting.
Yeah, I love that song.
Oh yeah. I remember that joint. Yeah.
I love that song.
I was gonna sing it, but I don't think y'all ready for that, man. I ain't gonna bless y'all with that right now, man. I might mess around and get a record deal off of that or something.
Oh my gosh. To that note, that will do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We hope you liked what we did. Please leave us some suggestions, some comments, feedback, ideas. We're open to them. And share them with us on YouTube. And until next show, we will see you guys later. Peace out.